actually expand this concept, actually this is the most important part of this. If we think about the generation condition for certain bit position I to k, so that means, okay, we have like bit positions here. We're talking about, okay, what is the generation condition for this? Then what we can, how we can rewrite this is, we can actually talk about generation condition for here, and then propagation condition here and generation condition here. Okay, the drawing is not. Okay, I'll redraw it for you. Okay, we are talking about Gi to k. So basically, we want I bit, k bit. We want to think about the carry generation condition for bit position 1 to k. We can rewrite this as carry generation for ith bit to, let's say, j plus 1th bit, g. And then we can think about carry generation condition for rest of the bit range, so j to k, right? So here I to j plus 1, here j to k. And we can tell, okay, we will have generation condition for this range if we have generation condition for this sub-range, or if we have generation condition for this lower sub-range and propagation condition for this higher bit range, right? So basically you have bit range here, you either have generation condition here or generation condition here and propagate here. So those two cases, we can think about those two cases, right? So we can rewrite this generation and propagation like this. So this is the key term for carry look-ahead operation. So for each bit position, we are strategically divide the bit range and calculate the propagation and generation condition for different bit ranges. And if you merge that calculation structure, you can somehow efficiently do that calculation, which we will see in the later slides. It might not be clear in the first hand, but let's see how this can be calculated. So for this carry look-ahead operation, what I said was this is the most important operation here, right? So basically for carry generation for certain range can be recalculated by carry generation condition for certain sub-range, and then propagation condition for that sub-range times lower sub-range generation condition. Okay, so this is the key operation. And how can we calculate this? That can be done by this operation here. So what we call is black cell or gray cell, or it's not an official term, but there's two different operations. First, you calculate both G and P for a certain range, K to I, and you can calculate, so K to I, but what you actually do is K to J plus 1 range and then J to I range. So you calculate for these sub-ranges, as I mentioned, okay? So for generation condition from K to I, what you do is you K to J plus L J plus 1 or sorry, L means 1 in Korean. Or, so this is this branch here, or propagation condition for that range, k to j plus 1, and g to j down to I. Thank you. So this condition here, so that's ANDed. So this is exactly what we have seen here, right? So our alphabets are a little bit rotated, but this is the same thing. So you calculate generation condition for wider range. Oh yeah, here. So you basically take the P and G value for these two sub-ranges and then calculate the G and P condition for wider ranges. So you are merging two different ranges. So for G, you calculate this way, but for P, you just need to merge them, right? You just AND operate sub-range propagation condition. So you, for propagation for k to I, it's basically propagation j to I times propagation k to j plus 1. So for propagation, you just simply AND. For generation, you AND for lower range, or you just take the G for higher range. Okay? So that operation is represented by this black cell. This is not like official term, but let's just, for convenience, let's say black cell means we are calculating propagation and generation condition for a certain range, and in contrast, this gray cell is only for generation calculation without propagation condition calculation. Okay? It's just this part taken here. Okay, and of course, if you have buffer, that's basically just buffering. So this black cell, gray cell, buffer is literally buffer. So with these, okay, let's see what we can do. So this is bit position here. So from bit 0 to bit 15, we are talking about 16-bit errors. Okay. So to calculate the summation value for each bit position, what we need is generation or carry in for each position, right? So carry in for bit position can be calculated with generation value. So basically what we need is G 0 to 0 or 1 to 0, 2 to 0, and up to 15 to 0. So basically for this bit position, you are calculating carry for this much, right? From lower bit to higher bit, you do care about the carry, but from higher bit to lower bit, you don't care. So when you calculate carry for this position, you don't care about this range, right? But however, for let's say this position, you do have to care about these range, right? So that's why for this bit position, you need G 8 to 0. So this bit range. So for ripple carry error, you can implement ripple carry error with this PG calculation here. So here, this is kind of setup. So basically, this part here basically means it generates PI and GI. Okay. Then to calculate G1 to 0, you need to calculate G1 plus P1 G0, right? So that's done by this gray cell here. You take P1, G1 here and G0. So you take input from here and input from here, and then calculate calculate G1 to 0 by taking these inputs. Okay. Then how about calculating G2 to 0? This can be done by G2 plus P2 G1 through 0. Right? So basically, this G1 through 0 is available here. This wire represents G1 to 0. So you take that input here and you take P2, G2 from this setup. So P2, G2 is from here, and this G1 to 0 is coming up from lower bit. Then you can calculate this G2 to 0, right? So by adding one bit at a time, basically you take like P, K, G, K, you can calculate G, K through 0. So you do that through this chain. So at this point you will be able to calculate 15 to 0. So this is straightforward, right? You are merging one bit by bit. And of course you can see it's slow because every time you merge, you are merging just one bit. And this is literally just ripple carry error. You calculate carry forward and calculate carry forward, calculate carry forward, right? But it's really important to understand what's happening in each of these cells, okay? Is this clear? Any questions? Okay, so using this principle, now, okay, don't be afraid, I will explain. So this is the Cogistone adder, which is it's kind of the fastest adder topology so far. I mean, I think theoretically, well, not theoretically, but so far, this is like the fastest adder you implement. Like even with like design compilers or the CAD tools, you synthesize your like Verilog behavioral description, HDL. If you give very short period for clock cycle, it will just take this structure. So this is like commercially widely used structure for the adders. For fastest adder, and of course that means you burn a lot of power here. So let's see why that's happening. Okay, so let's look at the lower bit case. So here, again, this is a PG generation part. Here we want GI to 0, right? So basically we want G1 to 0, and we can calculate that by having gray cell here, which is taking P1, G1 here, and then G0 here. So basically G1 through 0 is G1 plus P1 G0. This is identical to this first stage, right? So that's no problem. Okay, what about this? 2 to 0. Now it's a little bit different, right? So if you follow this track here, this is buffer, so you just keep going. Then you have this PG calculator here, but it actually takes input from second bit and bit 0. It's a little bit different, right? So what is happening there? So here it's buffer. So basically this means P0 and G0 is available here, right? However, what about this here? This is black cell connected to bit position 2 and bit position 1. So that means what we can tell is this is actually generating G for 2 to 1, not 2 to 0. Okay? This is the generation calculation for a certain sub-range, not all the way down to 0. So that's different. So how do we do that? G2 to 1 is G2 plus P2 and G1, right? So they are all available here and here, right? So And this is black cell, which means you are also calculating P221, which means P2 and P1, and which is all available here, right? So what this cell, this lower gray cell is doing is merging that result with bit 0. So what's happening there? We are to calculate G220, right? So if we rewrite this, what we can actually tell is G221 plus P221 G0. Do you remember this? This is bit 210. Instead